Hey my people, I am Chin, and this is Moving Around the World. Today we are talking about cultural shock in China, and I want to be very clear from the start. China is not a place you casually experience. China is a country that forces you to reset your expectations from the moment you decide to go. For a lot of people, it was never even on the bucket list. It feels far, unfamiliar, and completely outside the comfort zone. And that is exactly why the cultural shock hits so hard. When you travel to places that feel familiar, you already know how things work. You know how to pay, how to order food, how to ask questions, how to move around. China flips that script immediately. It challenges how you think daily life should function. Simple things become puzzles. And at first, that can feel overwhelming. This video is not about judging China. It is about understanding it. It is about what happens when you land in a country where your normal habits do not apply anymore. It is about confusion, surprises, frustration, excitement, and growth, all happening at the same time. Because cultural shock is not just about what you see. It is about what you feel when you realize you are no longer in control of the environment. If you are planning to travel to China, move there for work, attend an event, or even if you are just curious, this video will prepare you mentally. Because China rewards curiosity, patience, and preparation. But it can punish assumptions. Stay with me, because what I am about to share will save you stress and help you enjoy the experience for what it really is. Cultural shock often starts long before the plane takes off. It starts the moment you commit to going somewhere that does not feel familiar. For many people, China sits in that category of places that feel intimidating. Not because it is unsafe, but because it is different in a deep way. Different systems, different language, different logic. There is this moment when something moves very fast, like getting a visa approved quickly, and suddenly the trip becomes real. You go from thinking about it to packing your bags. You start imagining how everything will go smoothly. And that is usually when reality steps in. The journey itself becomes a test. Traffic, construction, delays, stress about making it to the airport on time. Those moments feel small, but they set the tone. They remind you that travel is unpredictable, and when you are going somewhere completely different, you need margin. Time margin, mental margin, emotional margin. That is one of the first lessons China teaches you. Do not rush. Build extra time into everything. Because once you arrive, things will not move the way you are used to. And the more you fight that, the more stressful it becomes. Cultural shock is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is just that feeling of being slightly off balance. Like you are standing on solid ground, but it does not feel solid yet. That feeling will follow you through your first days in China. And the faster you accept it, the easier everything becomes. Then you land, and the airport experience becomes your first real cultural lesson. You are tired, maybe running on no sleep, and suddenly you are standing in an immigration line that feels endless. And this is where expectations collide with reality. In some countries, foreigners move quickly and locals wait. In China, it can feel like the opposite. Citizens move through efficiently, and foreigners wait. And in that moment, you understand something important. You are a guest. The system is not designed around you. And that is not a negative thing. It is just the truth. As you wait, you start noticing things. The diversity of people passing through. The scale of the operation. The efficiency mixed with rigidity. And slowly, preconceived ideas begin to crack. China is not isolated. China is connected. People are coming and going from everywhere. When you finally exit, there is often someone waiting. An organizer, a driver, someone from an event. And you realize they waited for hours while you stood in line? That moment brings gratitude and humility. Because in a country where you do not speak the language, someone is helping you navigate. Those first moments outside the airport feel intense. You are exhausted, alert, confused, and curious all at once. That emotional mix is cultural shock in its purest form. The hotel experience becomes another lesson. Everything looks modern, clean, and well-designed, but suddenly you cannot figure out how to turn on a light. You search for switches that are not where you expect them to be. You notice bathroom systems that feel unfamiliar. These small moments matter. They remind you that design follows local habits, not yours. What feels intuitive to locals can feel confusing to you. And that is okay, but it requires patience. Language becomes very real here. Finding a hotel, confirming you are in the right place, understanding instructions. Without the language, you rely on apps, maps, gestures, and kindness. And surprisingly, kindness shows up often. Many people may not speak English, but they try to help anyway. They point, walk with you, or use their own phones to assist. That kindness softens the cultural shock. It reminds you that confusion does not mean rejection. It just means adjustment. Once you rest, the practical side kicks in. Getting a SIM card, making sure you are connected. In China, connection is survival. Without data, you are lost. Maps, payments, translation, transportation, all live in your phone. This is not optional. This is foundational. Food is one of the biggest cultural shocks people talk about, and for good reason. In China, you are not eating Chinese food as you know it abroad. You are eating food. Real food. Local food. Ordering alone can feel strange. Many places do not use traditional menus anymore. You scan a code. Everything is on your phone. You order digitally, and the food arrives. For some people, that feels futuristic. For others, it feels disorienting. Then comes the recommendation. A dish you would never order on your own. Something that sounds extreme. And this is where your mindset matters. You can say no and stay safe, or you can say yes and learn something. Often, the dishes that sound strange surprise you the most. Trying something like duck blood might sound intimidating, but flavors can surprise you. The balance, the texture, the seasoning. Suddenly you realize your food boundaries were more mental than real. This is what cultural shock does when you lean into it. It expands you. It challenges assumptions. It teaches you that unfamiliar does not mean bad. And once you accept that, food becomes one of the most enjoyable parts of being in China. Food is one of the biggest cultural shocks people talk about, and for good reason. In China, you are not eating Chinese food as you know it abroad. You are eating food. Real food. Local food. Ordering alone can feel strange. Many places do not use traditional menus anymore. You scan a code. Everything is on your phone. You order digitally, and the food arrives. For some people, that feels futuristic. For others, it feels disorienting. Then comes the recommendation. A dish you would never order on your own. Something that sounds extreme. And this is where your mindset matters. You can say no and stay safe, or you can say yes and learn something. Often, the dishes that sound strange surprise you the most. Trying something like duck blood might sound intimidating, but flavors can surprise you. The balance, the texture, the seasoning. Suddenly you realize your food boundaries were more mental than real. This is what cultural shock does when you lean into it. It expands you. It challenges assumptions. It teaches you that unfamiliar does not mean bad. And once you accept that, food becomes one of the most enjoyable parts of being in China. Food is one of the biggest cultural shocks people talk about, and for good reason. In China, you are not eating Chinese food as you know it abroad. You are eating food. Real food. Local food. Ordering alone can feel strange. Many places do not use traditional menus anymore. You scan a code. Everything is on your phone. You order digitally, and the food arrives. For some people, that feels futuristic. For others, it feels disorienting. Then comes the recommendation. A dish you would never order on your own, something that sounds extreme. And this is where your mindset matters. You can say no and stay safe, or you can say yes and learn something. Often, the dishes that sound strange surprise you the most. Trying something like duck blood might sound intimidating, but flavors can surprise you. The balance, the texture, the seasoning. Suddenly you realize your food boundaries were more mental than real. This is what cultural shock does when you lean into it. It expands you. It challenges assumptions. It teaches you that unfamiliar does not mean bad. And once you accept that, food becomes one of the most enjoyable parts of being in China. Cultural shock also comes from infrastructure and movement. You see things that make you stop and stare. Motorbikes sharing overpasses with pedestrians. Systems that look chaotic but somehow work. Then there is technology everywhere. Portable power bank stations, QR codes for everything. Payments done almost exclusively by phone. Transportation booked through apps that verify drivers in seconds. The phone becomes your wallet, your map, your translator, and your safety net. If you arrive unprepared, this can feel overwhelming. If you arrive ready, it feels empowering. China does not work halfway. You either adapt or struggle. Cities like Shenzhen amplify this shock. Clean, modern, organized, futuristic. For someone who has never experienced a city like that, it can completely reset expectations. You start realizing that modernity looks different depending on where you are in the world. This is where many people say, "I had no idea." And that moment stays with you. Some of the strongest cultural shock is internal. It is realizing that you cannot assume anything. In many countries, things feel similar. China does not. China is different on a fundamental level. That means you need humility. You need research. You need awareness. The country does not adapt to you. You adapt to it. Sometimes people hesitate to speak English. Not out of rudeness, but out of fear of making mistakes. Understanding that changes how you interact. You learn to be patient. You use translators without embarrassment. You ask with respect. At the end of the day, you reflect. You think about how different it all feels. You realize preparation matters. Apps matter. Mental flexibility matters. Handled well, cultural shock makes you stronger. Handled poorly, it ruins the experience. That is why I always say, do not come to China expecting comfort. Come expecting something unique. So here is the takeaway. China will surprise you. It will confuse you. It will impress you. It will challenge you. And that is exactly the point. If you come to China, bring extra time, extra patience, and digital preparation. Set up your apps. Secure your connection. Learn how payments work. Use translation tools. Most importantly, keep an open mind. China is not enjoyed through control. It is enjoyed through curiosity. They teach you that your way is not the only way. They make you more adaptable and more human. Now I want to hear from you. Have you been to China? What shocked you the most? Leave it in the comments because I read everything and use your experiences for future videos. And turn on notifications so you do not miss what is coming next. I am Chin, and this was Moving Around the World. See you in the next one.